From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine tonight. I am Ben Hall. We have some very good guests. Tonight we are talking about veterans and some of the major challenges veterans face upon returning home and the work that is being done by a dedicated local organization basically trying to help veterans. So happy to have with us, we have Katie Wells, founder, director of Eagle Forward and At Your Side, and we'll talk about what both of those organizations are. Katie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And also Sonia Meneses, good, a veteran who has benefited from Katie's work. Thank you for being with us. And so let's talk big picture. So there's so many challenges, right, that veterans are facing. How did you come to see that and think, all right, I need to do something?
Well, I was born with one arm, and for the longest time, I wanted to find a way to use my disability to help others with disability. And so when I moved to Washington, D.C., I became a peer visitor at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. So I started doing peer counseling for all the amputees coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And during my time there, I saw so many soldiers who were in the hospital alone and had absolutely nobody there with them. And so that inspired me when I returned to Nashville to start At Your Side. And so I train soldiers as well as civilian mentors to accompany other soldiers who are wounded to all their doctor's appointments.
So we hear about the suicide rate, and it's horrifying. It's like 22 a day. At one point, it was 22 a day. I believe that was in 2013. That's the last stat I saw. And when you talk about what you're discussing here, the At Your Side program, so many soldiers are coming back, they have an injury, and they're going in for care, and there's no one with them. They go in alone. And so how devastating is that?
It's, for someone with combat injuries to be alone in the hospital, I honestly can't think of a more difficult situation, because a lot of them are facing not only depression, anxiety, traumatic brain injury, but on top of that, just the feeling alone and the months that they have ahead of them in their recovery. Just knowing that someone is with them, it gives them such a sense of just a peace of mind. And with Sonia, I went with her to her surgeries and doctor's appointments for 4 years, and so she certainly understands what it's like to have somebody accompany her to appointments.
So Sonia, what are some of the challenges you faced, and just kind of walk us through what's kind of your story?
Combat veteran. I was injured during my 2 tours in combat in Iraq, and I lost my hearing. I have Meniere's disease and PTSD. I'm deaf on my left ear and 85% on my right. I read lips mostly. So when I got back, I was medevaced from Iraq on our 2nd tour in 2005 in October. And when I was medevaced from where we were located at, I got back here, and I was too young to be diagnosed with Meniere's, and of course then I couldn't hear at all, and it was just me by myself and my baby. And I met Katie through the Wounded Warriors program that was down at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I was transitioning from military to civilian, which was really hard, because all you know is Army, and they tell you you can no longer be Army, and that's one of the things you love the most. So hearing that you can no longer be after serving 14 years in it, depression was like, you just went into this tunnel, and it was really hard.
And that happens for a lot of people, right?
Right.
And I don't know that people understand that fully. We've heard it, but why is the depression so great, and why is that transition so hard?
It's because when we join the Army, most of us are lifetimers. We want to do it for life. We love it. I mean, I know I enjoyed it. I was a sergeant. I led people, and you get attached to people, and then you watch them grow. And you want them to be better than you. It's kind of like your own children in a way. Especially in combat, when we went, it was the beginning of the war, 2003, and then we also deployed in 2004. So we got much closer to each other. And when somebody tells you you can no longer do what you were trained for, and now that you went to combat, you were that closer and you learned your job that much better, they're going to tell you can no longer do what you're trained to do. you have nowhere to turn to. Like, what civilian job's going to take me? You know, I have PTSD, you have nightmares. Your own family doesn't understand you, so you cannot go to them because everybody like puts you aside because they don't know how to handle the way you're acting. You know, you upset, you mad at the world because they're making a choice for you, and you really believe that you can still be in the military and you still want to serve. You want to finish your years out. I wanted to finish my 20 and probably give it more if the Army would have let me.
And when did this happen for you? What year?
This happened for me in 2005.
And what happened after that? So you have to transition out, and you've talked about some of the challenges, but what happened for you from 2005 until now?
2005, when I got my injuries, I had to go through surgeries. They didn't retire me until 2011. So between that period of time, I had to do surgeries to my mind, to my head, for my hearing. That's when I met Katie. And Katie went through me to all my appointments because I had no one to help me out. So she was there for all my brain surgeries and my ear, removal of my inner ear and everything else. And then she told me there was somebody that can help me. I didn't have to go through by myself because you're in this depression and you think there's only one way out, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel because nobody can help you. So you feel like you're all by yourself. So Katie helped me come out of that and that depression that you're in, and made me realize that just because you're disabled, it doesn't mean you can no longer live or make a life for yourself. You can continue doing so. You
want to contribute, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. You want to have a sense that you are contributing.
Right.
And is that what's missing, I guess, for so many veterans? Is that one of the things?
Yes.
So your situation, how unusual is it?
It is not unusual at all. We all want to devote something. We want to do something to feel better, to feel like we can still give back to the community, that it's not done, that just because we are now veterans and combat wounded or just disabled, that we can still do something. And that's when Katie approached me about the Mission Continues, and I continue my mission by devoting my time to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Clarksville.
So that has given you that sense of making a contribution and contributing.
Yes, I help with children. I wanted to help them, to let them see that even though you hurt, that you can still, because we worked with a lot of hurt children and not really good homes. And I wanted to let them know that even though they're going through that you can still become and overcome all your obstacles. You can be somebody when you're done. So I went out there and got my bachelor's in nursing.
And so, Katie, from your perspective, how did you meet Sonia again, and just walk us through the relationship over many years that sprung from that?
Well, I first met Sonia when she was interested in the Mission Continues, so I walked her through the whole application process.
What is the Mission Continues?
The Mission Continues is a nonprofit organization that gives veterans who served after 9/11, gives them a grant to go into their communities and do a volunteer project. So that's when I first met her, and she actually received a double grant from the Mission Continues, and she did her fellowship at Big Brothers Big Sisters. And so I will say, personally observing the change in her, it was unbelievable. And she's already a very positive person to begin with, but when I first started talking to her, I could tell she was very down and very depressed. And a good friend of mine, Eric Greitens, who's a Navy SEAL, he always says that veterans need to know that we still need you. And so after a veteran has served, you know, veterans still need to hear, we still need you in our community. And so the Mission Continues allows veterans to continue their service to our country. And I think the other thing is that it teaches veterans that when you challenge a veteran, you're actually saying, I believe in you. So with Sonia, giving her that opportunity to go to Big Brothers Big Sisters, it was a challenge for her, but at the same time, I was saying to her, I believe in you. And so it's a really, I just saw such a great, just so much encouragement in her.
And so from your perspective, how many people don't get that? I mean, so take the bigger picture here. What is happening when veterans come home much too often?
Right.
In your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, I see a lot of veterans, and I say falling through the cracks. I see a lot of veterans who are in remote small towns who are, one, not getting the care they need, two, they are not going to medical appointments. 3, a lot of them are just staying at home, playing video games all day long. I've seen a lot of them who have traumatic brain injuries and won't even go to the grocery store, because if you have a traumatic brain injury, having 20 different pasta sauces to pick from is very overwhelming for someone with a traumatic brain injury. So I will say a lot of the veterans who are in these remote towns are not being tracked properly, and a lot of them need help in so many different areas of their life. So my ultimate goal with At Your Side and then my Eagle Forward program, which helps veterans with career counseling and resume writing, is to really reach out to those veterans who are in the remote areas who, in my opinion, really need the help the most. And
well, we'll talk more about certainly what you're doing, but the bigger picture as well, and how are they falling through the cracks? Why is that happening so often? If you want to call, there's the number 615-737+, 615-737-7587. We'll take a break and then take your phone calls. We'll be back right after this.